are ready to move this forward, and as fast as they are presenting, that's just as fast as the next presenter is ready to come on board. Um, Happy to have with us Ben Carpel. He's going to be presenting social media analytics, and that is something that seems to be never ending and always growing since its inception. Ben, just a quick voice check on your mic.
Yep, can you hear me?
Sounds good. Let me follow that up with a formal introduction and give the folks a little bit of background. Um, Ben is the president of Cyfe, C-Y-F-E. It's an all-in-one business dashboard that helps easily monitor and analyze all vital business data in one place, from social media to sales and marketing KPIs to internal custom data. Cyfe helps make better business decisions and saves time by bringing all business performance data under one roof, not having to log into multiple services every day. I love consolidated tools that do everything under one roof. So happy to have you with us, Ben, today, and we are good to go on your end if you want to go ahead and share your screen.
Sounds good. Thanks, Mike. I'll get this pulled up right now. And let's see. You guys can see, yeah.
Yeah, transition. Good.
All right. Fantastic. I'll make this a little shorter. So, yeah, exactly. We've had a lot of topics so far on SEO, on digital marketing from a variety of aspects, content marketing, SEO, and I think we're happy to talk a little bit about social media analytics, social media marketing. A lot of our customer base leverages this more than any other data, so we see a lot of insights, and we'll start to share what we've seen as far as best practices, the best ways you can make this work for your organization. So as for today, we're kind of going to go over these main topics. I'll obviously followed at the end by a Q&A, as John just did. So we'll first talk about getting started in the context of we've got a very early stage effort going, or we've got zero effort going. How do we know where and how to begin? We'll give a little bit about the platforms. I think we're all familiar with the platforms and by name and what they are and what they do, but I'm going to speak more so to the actual strengths of each platform and why you should use them depending on your business. We'll talk about tools that you can use, not only ours, but other ones out there as far as scheduling and posting. And then we'll go through some of the metrics that, again, social media is not just about the customer interaction, the social element, but it's critical to be able to audit and measure and understand. So we'll talk about a few factors that a lot of our customers love to track, which is including reach, engagement, acquisition, and conversion. So that's the agenda, and we'll take it from there. So when we talk about starting, this is really the context of I think of this as an integrated strategy, meaning your social media marketing can inform your content marketing, because all of a sudden you start to understand what is working and why. It helps you in your SEO. I think John gave it extensive, among everyone else, has talked about how SEO has become a big, I wouldn't say it's the biggest factor yet, but it's becoming a meaningful part of influencing your Google search rankings in terms of who's sharing why and all of that. It also helps with paid ads. Once you start to understand how what is working, you can start to drive down your cost per click, your CPM, and anything relevant from a paid ad strategy. And finally, I mean, apart from the funnel of getting customers, it can be a very valuable customer service, customer success, and CRM tool. So that's what kind of I'm getting at the first bullet. If you think about that old, the recycling logo, it's kind of that circular integrated strategy. It's very important. We also talk about, you will get this in a moment, as far as tailoring each platform in mind. Every business is unique. Every social platform is different, which we know and we'll talk about in a moment. And this is very much, this is not a one-size-fits-all broad strategy. You want to think about this, tailoring your social media strategy platform by platform as to what works for you. You may be a startup, you may be a sole proprietor, you may be a large organization, and you'll find that depending on the industry and the type of customer you are, you'll start to favor certain ones and certain platforms. And then finally, this bullet, which we'll talk on in a second, is, all right, this is this ground zero thing I alluded to. We're beginning from zero. We're beginning from a very basic effort. How do we know what to talk about? How do we know what to post on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter, and why? So this is, starting out is forming your strategy before beginning. Here's what I mean by that. So this is not our tool, but a tool we love. It's free. It's called BuzzSumo. Pretty well known out there. If you're not familiar with it, check it out. The interface is pretty straightforward, and this helps you do a few things. First of all, kind of but the what and the why. So this tells you what topics are working and why. It gives you context to understanding that. It gives you context to why it is being shared. And this is, again, a free way of determining these two huge and critical questions. You can type in topics related to your industry or your competition or your interests, and all of a sudden this tool helps you spit out types of articles and content that are being most widely shared. So instantly you know what works and what doesn't. And you can do so, again, by different languages, by different dates as trends rise and fall, by different types of content, whether it's infographics, whether it's visual. And you can also, and we won't do too much into influencer marketing, but you can find people and advocates of your brand and voice as well. I should say, be a voice of your brand. That's another way that BuzzSumo can be used. So this is a good way, I would say, for starting out, for people who don't have any social media strategy in place, for people who are looking at implementing social media marketing. Use this tool if you want to determine what you should be talking about and sharing about. So check out that tool. We're going to move on to the platforms themselves. So this, you can see here, you can see this full chart in super high resolution at conversationprism.com. I think it's an anthropologist, an artist, who updates these. He started this in 2008. This I really included to show, again, just as there's thousands of different businesses out there and across dozens of different industries, this is the same with social media. We're all familiar with the 800-pound gorillas of Facebook and Twitter and et cetera, Instagram. But this just speaks to, if you're a certain business, you'll find certain elements, certain social networks, certain types of social media marketing work better for you than they do for others. So it's very important to, once you start finding out what works for your business, to hone in on something. For example, across our customer base, we see this every day, where some people are heavily reliant on Facebook. Others don't use much Facebook at all, and they focus a ton of event-driven marketing with Eventbrite because they're an event company or they're a ticket company, and they kind of don't do what you would normally say. This is the standard stuff. They'd completely ignore LinkedIn. They'd completely ignore Google+. Others use Google+ a ton, ignore Twitter. It just really depends on what is best for you and your business. And the reality is there's no wrong answer. Quora, the answers can be valuable platforms for driving traffic and driving customer acquisition. So that's something, an interesting thing. I wanted to include it as we transition now into talking about the different platforms. These are just several of many. We all know what these are and what they do. Some of us use them more than others. And what I wanted to talk about in this slide is what is why use these platforms? Kind of, let's go over the strengths of each one. So Facebook is obviously the biggest one out there. There's a widest reach, the widest possible audience. But one of the strengths that you guys may not know about is that the data on it has been so impressive that you can make a highly targeted ad, really driving down the cost and focus of of your customer, coming down to interests, job title, relationship status, age, gender, language, location. So what this really means is you're able to hone in, whether it's a paid ad strategy or a social content, circulation strategy for your Facebook page, into a very targeted, a scalpel-like approach. And so that makes your dollars and your time and your energy go very, very far. I think this is the, not only does it have the most users, but it's highly targeted. And the third benefit is people tend to stay on it a while, right? So if you can include a lot of images, a lot of videos, a lot of text posts, if you're integrated into the content, into the platform of Facebook via your page, you're able to keep people on board since they're using Facebook anyway. They keep it as almost their home. They don't want to leave the comfort of their home and go back out to the web. So that's the big strength of Facebook, is the reach, the data targeting, and the filtration you can do from it, and how you can integrate it into people's daily lives. Instagram similarly is now owned by Facebook, as we may probably know, purchased by Facebook a few years ago, and has had incredible user growth. We've found for our customers, the people that use this are ones that are visually focused, whether it's e-commerce and it's beautiful products, whether it's food, clothing, fashion, travel, automobile. We've seen that be the most successful platform for companies with a visual component. So make sure if you have something that can be beautiful pictures, make sure you're all about Instagram. It even has a better and more engagement than Facebook, just because the UI is so simple. As we all know, Instagram, it's easy to like a picture, just double tapping on a picture. It's easy to scroll through the feed. People tend to do this more than Twitter. They tend to do it more than Facebook, so engagement is really high. And what that means is, we'll talk about in a moment, is that can widen the top of your funnel and lead to more and more conversions. From an ads perspective, a paid ads perspective too, you're able to leverage, again, the incredible amount of data and targeting through Facebook. So in Facebook's platform, you can do both Facebook and Instagram imaging. It's a little bit more on the paid ad side, so we won't talk about that from this topic today. But again, that just speaks to overall how important Instagram's become to YouTube. And this is another highly engaged, highly a ton of reach with this platform. Been around for 10 years now. It's grown. It's become super popular, super huge. Billions of monthly users. I think 1 billion plus now. Hundreds of millions of video each month. This one is interesting because you can use it as a top of funnel acquisition channel. So you can talk about previews. You can talk about snippets and teasers. You can talk about potential exclusive offers. Use these to kind of spark interest and curiosity and get people interested in your core product. The two takeaways I think from YouTube are, well, I'd say three. The first is, you don't want to really go after this unless you have really professionally designed and driven content. I think it's kind of a binary outcome. If you can produce a professional-looking, clean video, go for it, by all means. But if you don't want to invest in the time, energy, equipment, and editing to do this, a video-based strategy, you could probably ignore it for now. And as far as if you pursue the strategy, the main goals that we've found work for customers are people who are achieving the most success of grabbing people from YouTube to their product and converting and resulting in sales and conversions. Their videos are doing mainly information and teaching, or they're being entertaining and funny. I think we've seen some great pre-roll ads out there for unique products that have done well. And so it's harder to pull that off. So what we've found, a lot of customers have had successes with providing great information, providing great teaching. Customers love that, engage with that. or your prospects, I should say, on YouTube and tend to go. Google Plus, I mean, again, it's been maligned by many, but it still has hundreds of millions of users. It has seamless integration with Gmail. You can do images, videos, polls. We found some people are more active on Google Plus than others, you know, it's just kind of you consider that an extra way of being integrated. There's no downside really to using it, and again, it is omnipresent in so much of our Google-driven life that it's important. And then Snapchat, we may not have accounts yet. It's become a very popular, again, high-growth product like Instagram. This is the disappearing videos, 10 seconds. So really, content needs to be designed for being short-lived. It's not going to last forever. It needs to be live event-driven stuff. When we talk to customers, you're doing, again, it's a backstage or it's an exclusive type presentation. It's an event, and you're leveraging Snapchat to kind of give a sneak peek. That's where we've seen advertisers succeed. The other thing is it's best if you're focusing on a demographic that's a little bit younger. So if your product is catered to an older demographic, you can probably start to completely ignore Snapchat. While we're finding the demographics are aging a little bit, so more and more older people are signing up for Snapchat. The engagement's just night and day with in terms of the daily active users. So unless your product is catered to a younger audience, it's one you can probably ignore. And then as far as just LinkedIn, that's more of a professional thing. So make a post that might be perfect for Facebook is great. It may not be best for LinkedIn. Pinterest, again, similar to the Instagram as far as heavily on visual. But the great thing about Pinterest is if there's a photo that's repinned from your site and again and again and again, it can be a very evergreen source of traffic from Google, from Pinterest as people do image searches and bring it in. So it's an underrated tool. Again, it's more of a female-driven product, so it caters well to fashion and certain products and industries like that. But plenty of males use it too, people of all ages. And Pinterest is a great way of, again, driving evergreen traffic to your site if you have a hit image that gets reposted again and again. Twitter too, not mentioned here, but huge. We love Twitter. Great for short-form content. I talked earlier about it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. So when you're posting to Twitter, you're not going to be posting the same thing to Facebook. So just to keep in mind, Facebook is bigger than Twitter, but the daily active users on Twitter are still very large and something you should not ignore. So that's, again, we know what the platforms are. I talked about just there the pluses of using each one and catering to each one. As for tools, I mean, this is the element that Mike alluded to at the beginning of the presentation. There's so many out there; it's hard to keep track of everything. And what we do is on the analysis side, which will show a quick preview. We're free to use. Digital Olympus has an exclusive coupon for our premium product for you guys as well, just as Google Analytics is free to use. And so we're on the analysis front. We will be doing posting and scheduling, and it'll be an all-in-one marketing solution like the ones above. But the ones I mentioned, Buffer, Hootsuite, even Post Planner and Sprout, those are great tools to manage, schedule, and publish your content. And they all have slightly different user interfaces and prices, but posting and scheduling will be an all-in-one marketing solution like the ones above. But got them. Okay, can you guys still hear me? Mike? Yep. Okay. I think all right, perfect. So those are the core tools we will want to use. This is the top category will help organize your scheduling life. The bottom category will help organize and measure in terms of the measure and ROI of your life. So we'll get into that in a moment. Here's an example of Cyfe, a dashboard set up for social media. Here, this is someone who's able to track Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, all on one page with a consolidated view of their demographics, where their traffic's coming from, and how they're, what's going on in their feed. So this is an example of what people use, for their day-to-day life. We think people can save hours of their week and days out of their year just by bringing this all into one screen. That's what Cyfe does. So I'm not here to talk a lot about what Cyfe is. You can check us out. Like I said, Mike and the Digital Olympus team have an exclusive coupon for our product, which is free to use, but there are premium features you can get with our one paid plan as well. So finally, I'll close on, all right, we know that there's platforms. We know they all do different things. Let's talk about, as a digital media marketer, what do you want to be measuring and focusing on, as far as how do I even know my social media strategy is working? So first up is reach, broadly defined as how many people are seeing the content. It depends from platform to platform, but that's basically why it is. Why is this metric important? This shows you, higher reach is better, but it also gives you a good example of when posts are making. So in Facebook, you can see when people are seeing your posts the most. So you can start to get a good basis of, should I do it at Tuesday, or should I do it at Thursday? Should I do it at 9 a.m. or should I do it at 3 p.m.? That's the big chunk of importance for reach. The second is type. You can start to soon analyze, all right, is my content with a question in the title performing better than my content with a video? Or is my content with an image posting better than my content with a link? So that is, reach will start to really help you form of, okay, how, what types of content work, whether it's images, videos, links, etc. So that's the first piece of the funnel. As we move down, when people see it, they start to engage in it, which is generally broadly defined as what percentage of people are interacting with your content. This, again, speaks to the second point of what we just did. This shows you, are people clicking? Are they liking it on Facebook? Are they commenting it on Facebook? Clicks are valuable too, but you need to drive, it should be comments and likes are valuable, but clicks are important too, because you need to get people to your product. And finally, this tells you two things. Is it important? Are people caring about my content to begin with? Are they interested in my content to begin with? This is this is a metric that shows you not necessarily the type that's working, but of the type that is working, are people caring and is it important to them? Again, this is always what you want to be measuring too. You can use Google Analytics, and you can use Cyfe to measure the performance of these and find out what's working, what's not. As fine as we're getting to the second to last piece here, most important is acquisition. So here's where you'll want to start using Cyfe and Google Analytics, especially where you can use metrics like users, time on page, sessions, the bounce rate, a limited amount of demographics that come here and there. This tells you who is actually loving the content, coming through the site, and seeing what I have to offer as a marketer, seeing what we have to offer as a company. So this is where the acquisition piece of the social media post has been published, it's been engaged with, and this is where you can really see, all right, who are the type of users coming to the page. What I mean by segmenting or looking at these metrics is you can start to measure, how is Twitter doing better compared to Facebook? How is Facebook doing compared to Pinterest? And you'll start to see for you and your business what is working best. And then finally, conversion. This is the most important piece. Is you need to, why do social media marketing without an eye on getting sales and meeting your goals as defined by Google Analytics? So here's where you want to isolate your goals by social channel. This again will be very telling as to, are people reacting the most on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook, or none of the above. You'll want to not only compare your goals with what people are seeing from Facebook versus Twitter versus YouTube, but social versus search versus paid. So it's just one, find out not only what networks are performing the best, but is this outperforming or underperforming email? Is it outperforming search? And again, as at the very beginning of the presentation, I talked about this helps your integrated strategy. This tells you where to focus and how to focus in terms of content. You'll start to hone in on if you're great at Facebook, it's better to start spending more time on Facebook, your energy and your dollars there, rather than trying to do a one-size-fits-all approach. We have customers that do that and have large teams and do one-size-fits-all, but as I've talked throughout this presentation, you want to really focus on what works best for you. And that leads us to, I think, to our first question. We have one that said, what platform should we focus on? And that's what I just mentioned is the first question addressed is what platforms. And it's unique. It's an answer where some people are best suited for Facebook, where the others are suited for BuzzFeed, Native, and YouTube. It really just depends. And use Google Analytics, use ROI tools to measure. It's not enough to just start posting and doing social media, but you need to really start measuring and analyzing the reach, the impressions, the acquisition, and the conversions in order to make an informed decision about if Facebook is the one for you or if Twitter is the one for you. And that's really what it comes down to. If you're a sole proprietor, if you're a small team, there's only a limited amount of time, energy, and money, and it doesn't make sense to go everything at once. You can use the tools I talked about to post, but you'll soon find that based on your company and your industry, it's what. And then yeah, I mean that's really it. Do we have any other questions? I don't want to take too much time. I know we got a little started late, so I don't want to take into the.
Do you have? There is a question, and we got some clarification on it as well. Speaking to our audience, which is mostly, marketing businesses, whether they are in-house agencies or freelancers, what would your suggestion be for social channels for their own marketing business efforts? Not if in behalf of their clients, but for their own marketing business. Where have you seen the most success?
Less so on the visual, more so on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. Depends on Twitter. I would say in order of rank, probably. And this is broad. It's a little bit different. We found like businesses, consultancies, whether they're a sole proprietor or they're a partnership, they've had a ton of success doing the informative content on YouTube I talked about. So starting to do how-to videos, getting their name out there. We don't know exactly, but we think a lot of it has to do with you're establishing a relationship with a stranger. So I think the potential customer is greatly comforted by hearing the voice, seeing the person, at least visually, and then that opens up the door for that. So YouTube has been big, as has Twitter and Facebook, just because you can establish the page, start posting content. Links, generally speaking, and with those links leading people on the platforms to the social media. The other thing, too, is if you're starting out, you can use Facebook, as I talked about. It becomes a very low-cost strategy because you can hone in on such a narrow audience that you're not going to blow a big advertising budget, and you can find people that are really interested in who might be your prospects and bring them to your Facebook page and bring them to your site and measure how it's doing. By a fact, we've seen outperformance on Facebook compared to Google AdWords by a factor of 10x, 20x, meaning you can get 10 times the amount of impressions for the same price, or vice versa. So you can reach, or you can reach the same amount of people for 1/10 of the cost.
We've seen exactly the same thing with our efforts. I'm glad you brought that up as far as the affordability of Facebook and being able to narrow down that specific audience, really target in on that perfect future client. And with experimenting with LinkedIn paid and Instagram and Twitter, I know that Instagram's a little newer on the paid side, and it feels like they haven't quite got it dialed in as sharp as Facebook does.
Exactly.
That's
And
because of so many spammy accounts.
I think part of it is the demographics a little bit. I think just like how Snapchat right now is super young, I think Instagram is younger. You know, just as Facebook used to be young, and then when it broadly started expanding in 2008, 9, and 10, and captured everyone from 8 to 80, really, you have more of an established platform. First of all, you have a different demographic. With Instagram, part of it is younger people interacting with the platform differently. That's not to say there's tons of 25 to 35-year-olds that have degrees, that are professionals, that are going to spend money. What we've found for customers that have had tons of paid ad success, it's high quality images, somewhat aspirational, not necessarily luxury, but there is that I'm willing to click through because this picture looks beautiful. This is really intriguing to me. You can kind of start. What's interesting as a marketer, what you should do is look at the ads and then see the comments behind them. That's the easiest way, I think. I tend to use. We don't do any paid ads, so for Instagram. So I interact with Instagram as a consumer. So what I do is look at what's working for people who are tagging their friends and tagging their friends in an advertisement. Think about that reach, right? Versus those who are kind of making fun of the ad in the comments. And that really, as a marketer, informs you what sort of content works. What we've found generally, it's aspirational, it's beautiful images, it's a product that most people would like to try. And often there's a hook, there's an offer, 1 month free or your first week free if it's a gym. Instagram's great for showing before and after results. Again, you have to do this with really clean and great visuals to do so. But Hiren just brought this up in the chat. A lot of travel niche ads, those tend to outperform, I think, because if you're showing a beautiful beach, if you're showing a flight, landing on a tropical island or an old European capital, it gets people excited about that, and they're more likely to click through and more likely to purchase for sure.
Well, Ben, we are out of time. I appreciate
we are indeed, yeah.
Those questions. We do have additional questions. Everybody in the audience, feel free to shift that over to Twitter. Ask those at CYFE at Cyfe, and they will get back to you with some detailed answers. Ben, once again, thank you very much for your time. So happy to have you as a part of Digital Olympus today, and we'll bid you a fond farewell.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me, and I hope everyone's enjoying the day. Thank you. Bye.
SpyFu highlights new opportunities for search marketers by revealing the advertising secret formula of their most successful competitors. Simply go to SpyFu.com and type in the domain of a competitor of yours. You can see all the keywords that they buy on Google, which ones they rank on organically, and how their campaigns have evolved since 2007. Discover how focused they are on SEO and even how much we estimate they're spending in AdWords. You can also type in any keyword and see who's buying it, ranking on it organically, and dig into similar profitable keywords. As you dive further into SpyFu, you can see trends in ad copy, look up past advertisers in a niche, create client reports, see keyword groups, and find backlink ideas. We have extensive tutorial content, an in-house support team, and even a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can do all of this research risk-free. Join the millions of people who have already used SpyFu and gain an edge on the competition.